What's going on, guys? My name's Kellen Reck, and today I want to show you how to do this. What the heck? Try me. Okay. Whoa. Wow, I'm on board for this. What? Back in time? Okay. Perfect. Whoa. Incredible. Probably use a little bit more practice, but enough of the funny business. Let me show you how to do it. All right, guys, so I'm gonna show you how to apparate like you would if you were in Harry Potter. It's pretty sweet. So what you wanna do is open up Adobe After Effects, and you wanna make a comp that is the size of your footage. So in this case, 1920 by 1080. I just have my comp being 30 seconds, but it really can be as long as your clip is. So drag your footage in, and I've got this shot of me appearing and just sort of landing into the chair on the ground. So what you wanna do here is you wanna have, and it really starts when you're shooting, you wanna have the footage clean with no one in it. So you want your background before or after you apparate, and then you actually doing the process of it. So here I have my clean slate, and then I have myself in the footage. And if I were teleporting out of this shot, I would want the action of me, and then a clean shot, the environment or the landscape after I'm gone. So I have my footage and I want to make 3 layers of it. So I'm just going to duplicate twice. That's Command D to duplicate. And on the bottom layer, I want to name it Empty Scene. This is the empty slate with nothing in it. The second layer I want to call Apparate, because this is where we're going to do the actual animation of the person sort of turning into the ball or coming out of the ball to appear. And the final clip, the top one, is going to be called Final Scene. So what you want to do first is you want to drag along to the point at which you will first appear in the scene. What is the first frame we want to see you? Obviously this is me just getting set, so that's not going to be in the footage. The first scene here is actually going to be right before I move the chair, so right about here. So what I'll do is I'll click on the top 2 layers and just hit Option left bracket to cut them. This is where I'll first appear. Now I want to drag these top 2 layers back to about the 2-second point into my empty scene below. So now I'm going from empty scene to boom, there I am. Great. So what we want to do next is we want to right click on the Apparate layer. Go to Time and Freeze Frame, because what we want to happen here, and you can actually drag back your final scene probably about let's say 5 frames. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's about 6 or 7 frames. We'll leave it at that. Somewhere in the 5 to 7 frame, however long you want your apparate animation to be. So you want to have a few frames of frozen motion and then your continued motion. Now, when you drag back this top layer, make sure you're actually physically dragging it so that first frame of this layer is the same frame as the frozen body here. Okay, great. So we have our 3 layers ready to go. Now, the first step in this process, or I should say the next step, is we want to mask out the body in the Apparate layer. So we'll just use the pen tool and we'll do a very rough drawing around the body. And you can see the shadow here. I'm going to keep it a little wider, actually, right there. And this doesn't have to be a perfect drawing because you already have that background from the empty scene layer. Now, where there will be some issues is in shadow areas like this. That's something we're gonna have to play with, but ideally there wouldn't be shadows or anything like that. That'll just make things a lot easier for you. But we have our mask. Now, if I hit M twice, we're gonna see we have our mask options. So I'm gonna make the feather 50 to start. You can see we sort of have a nice subtle line there. The shadow feels a little bit more natural, and we'll leave that as is for now. We will be coming back to this. So the next step is we want to animate the puppet. So go to the first frame of your final scene layer, and then go down and click on your Apparate layer. You want to be on the same frame, but on the Apparate layer. Go to your puppet pin tool and mark each of the joints in the body. So basically anywhere the body would move, shoulder, elbows, knees, chest, anywhere that you would feel natural movement of the body, you want to select. And if you hit U on this layer, you can see we've created keyframes for the puppet pin. Now, the keyframes are critical to have here in their natural spot because that is where the final scene will come in, and we want it to feel natural there. But what we want to do now is go back to the first frame of Apparate and actually drag these pin nodes, or whatever you want to call them, into a circle. Just like in Harry Potter, they appear out of a circle, and you can see, because we actually shot this with nothing in the background, it makes a nice clean background beneath where we're appearing from. So that looks great. We're appearing from the ball from the right side, flying into the chair. So now we have our keyframes. We're gonna appear into the chair out of nowhere. Perfect. So what I also wanna do is I wanna highlight all of these keyframes that I just made on the first side, and I want to right click, easy ease out. That'll just make it sort of hit a little harder, feel a little more natural when I appear. So what I also want to do is make sure that my motion blur is enabled on my sequence, and I want to check motion blur on my Apparate layer. You'll see that gives everything a little bit more motion blur, makes it actually feel like I'm appearing out of nowhere. What you can see here is we're starting to have the actual appearance of me sort of showing up and apparating. Let me play that back. Cool, looks pretty good. But there's a problem. We have this shadow layer here. So let's go to the first frame of the Apparate layer, double click M or double tap M, and mask expansion you'll see. You want to click the keyframe stopwatch here. Let's set that mask expansion to -50. That'll reduce our mask, and you'll start to see that that line is gone. Now if we drag along, we're appearing, and let's play it back. Boom, I appear out of nowhere. And you can see what I was talking about with the shadow. The shadow does sort of hit quickly in the back there. There are ways you can fix that. I mean, you could adjust the opacity of this top layer to have it sort of ease in. Overall, because it hits so quickly, the shadow feels somewhat natural and isn't too big of an issue. Boom, appearing out of nowhere. So there's two more things that you can do to really add some nice spice to this effect. The first is sound effects, and the second is a little bit of magic dust. So let's go in and try some sound effects first. You'll want to grab a Harry Potter-esque sounding sort of pop, or something that really spices up the effect. So I've got a sound effect right here that should work for this, and I'm just gonna mark an in and an out on it. And right here, I want to just line that effect up with myself appearing. And you see, that sort of gives the feel that you're appearing out of nowhere, and it gives the touch of, boom, something's happening. Sound effects are always a great touch. Now, what else do I want to do to make this effect work? Well, I want to add in a Cork Hit. Now, Video Copilot offers fantastic explosions and Cork Hits and effects like that, but really anything you find will work. And you want to bring it in as an overlay. I'm just going to size it up a little. You want to bring it in as an overlay. Now you can see it here. If I ISO, you can see that it's sort of like dust that appears. Now what I'm also going to do to this is add a tint and give it more of a orangey color. Make it feel a little mystical. Cool. Great. And I'm also actually going to give it a glow effect to have some, real, yeah, that's what I'm talking about right there. Okay, so let's go back. We'll un-ISO that. Now what you can see is, boom, I'm going to be appearing out of nowhere. I'm also going to give this an add, so it feels like it's right there. Great. Now right when I'm appearing out of the ball, I want this Cork Hit to start happening So it's like it's creating the explosion of me appearing in this world. So let's play this back. And I'm actually also going to bring down the opacity of this probably to about 60 just so it's not too extreme. And I'll be appearing right there. Perfect. Now let's play it back. So that's how it works, guys. It's really not too difficult an effect. The key is just shooting the empty scene and then you in that scene. And then you can really do a pretty easy mask. And overall, it's not that bad an effect. Puppet pin tool, making sure you shoot an empty scene in addition to the action of your scene, and adding a little sound effects and fun. It's really not that hard, guys. I think you could nail it, and I want to see what you can do. So go ahead and like the video if you enjoyed this effect, subscribe if you want to see more, and we'll check you back in the next one. Thanks, guys.